Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging and that you find difficult to navigate. We are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. I'm Pastor Pope, and I want to say thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. I enjoy being with you all every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe, tune in every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We've been having, obviously, some difficulties with our YouTube studio, but we are really trying to get things back in order, and we are thankful that you continue tuning in. As always, you can call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line throughout the week, Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, to discuss whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or you find difficult to navigate. You can discuss your present, you can discuss your future, you can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families, you can discuss dating and relationships. Of course, we will address topics on careers and finances, on entrepreneurship. Whatever's in your heart and whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here in 3D, which is brought to you by Fiji Water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that Earth's finest water is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers who continue giving on the Give segment of our app to support the broadcast, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast, we thank you for your commitment and your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here to address all the topics that you might like to discuss and all the issues of life that you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. So let me begin by saying this. We are about to wrap up another year of 3D. And as we go into the new year, we're going to be expanding the broadcast a little further. So as you know, we're on Facebook Live, we're on YouTube Live, and we are really trying to navigate our YouTube studio and get things right. For whatever reason, there's a technical glitch, but we will get it worked out. And in the coming year, we're going to start doing some additional interviews, and we're going to have students from our Achievers Academy on. We're hoping to merge to Zoomcast, which I think has created part of the problem, but we're preparing for that, and students will be able to interview celebrated individuals on our 3D Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I'm going to ask that everyone encourage your family, your friends, co-workers, colleagues to tune in. Also, encourage them to have a Zoomcast party. Support the students as they interview celebrated individuals. We will be doing some additional interviews throughout the year. And as we go into the new year, we're going to begin in January talking about mental health and wellness also. You know, there's so many people that have struggled in some form with the pandemic that we have been in. The changes of life that we've had to make to adjust to the pandemic. None of us has ever lived through this before. And as I've said previously, anyone who's old enough to have gone through the previous pandemic in 102 years ago is probably not old enough to remember the challenges of going through a pandemic. So this is new for us all. There's a lot of mental wellness and that has been disrupted during the pandemic. There's also a lot of mental illness that has gone diagnosed for a very long period of time. So we're going to be addressing how we can improve our mental health and wellness during the month of January. Of course, the first week of January, first Thursday in January, we will have our monthly contributor, Rebecca Buva, who will be with us. She is a licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist. Part of our mental health and wellness is going to be determined by our diet and our nutrition. So we need to be aware of those things also. So we'll be addressing those things. I am so excited about the year to come. This pandemic will come to an end, and when it ends, we will be in the midst of broadcasting at a new level. So I'm just going to encourage you all to inspire and encourage your family members, your coworkers and colleagues to continue encouraging them to tune in to 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. I'm going to address the communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you no longer feel inspired or motivated, and you are not certain how you said in your communication how to restart your engine. So it's very interesting that you say that, because one of the things that I'm going to address is that in your case, what you're dealing with are the holiday blues. Not just the pandemic blues, but the holiday blues. Because you have not been able to live your normal routine. And so for you, that's quite challenging, because everything is predicated on your normal routine. It's not about just schedule. It's not just about time management. It's about the routine that you're in. Some people would call it a rut, but you're wise enough to know that it is a routine that has created some normalcy for you throughout your life. And now your routine has been disrupted. You can't do what you normally do during the holidays. You have been off of your normal routine throughout the year, because we've all been dealing with this for almost a year now. But in your case, what you're suffering from are the holiday blues. So let me give you an example about that. As I was prayerful about this, God showed me in that secret place of your life what your daily routine looked like last year, the year before, and the year before that, prior to the pandemic. And you are right. You have a structured routine in your life. Now, I know a lot of people will say that routine, it will cause you challenges, because then you're not prepared to be flexible and you're not prepared to pivot. That's not true. Routine is very important. Establishing a routine is very important. Establishing every aspect of our lives, both personally and professionally, is extremely important. And the reason is because you can always teach yourself to pivot. You can always teach yourself to seek other methods of doing things. But when you have a routine, you have an established lifestyle. The problem for you is purely right now the holiday blues. So I'm going to use an example, and I want you to be very aware of this. So we live in a region, when I say we, meaning myself and the people who live here in the Northeast. You're in the Midwest, but it still gets cold there also. Okay, so let's be clear about this. If you leave your car outside of your garage, parked on your driveway, and you leave it sitting there all winter except for going to work, eventually over time, the battery is going to start to drain. If you're working from home and you only have to go in the office for meetings, and winter comes and you're only running your car, once a week to the office, that might be fine if you have a new car. If you have a car that's a little older, the longer it sits, the more the battery is going to drain, the easier, I should say, the battery is going to drain. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that not only do you drive your car once a week, but that you start the car and run it once a week. So now you're talking about twice a week. And if you really want to make sure that it is getting everything that it needs, so you're restarting the engine. But if you really want to make certain that it's going to perform well for you when necessary, you not only need to start your car, but you need to take it out of park, put it in reverse, back it up on your driveway, take it out of reverse, put it in drive it forward on your driveway. If the weather's not bad, you may even want to drive it around the block or around your cul-de-sac, whatever the case may be. But you've got to make certain, the reason you're doing that is so that the gears get lubricated and everything is in motion so that you can keep your car functioning properly. Well, it's the same thing with our bodies. To rid yourself of the holiday blues, you're going to have to do some things right now, particularly in this pandemic. You're going to have to do some things right now that you might not normally do. Like, you can go online and find exercise programs. You can find weightlifting programs. You can find floor exercises that you can do at home. You might want to do some additional cooking. You may want to challenge yourself by doing some brain teasers online. Things that you can do that are out of your normal routine that are going to stimulate or oil your cognitive power, your cognitive skills. Things that are going to challenge you in a different way so that you are not focusing on the fact that you cannot do what you want to do right now during the holidays. Normally, you didn't say this in your communication, but you go away for Christmas and then you go out on New Year's, or I should say New Year's Eve. That's your normal routine for the holidays. Can't do that this year. You could, but it's not safe. And so you weren't able to do that because people on the other end don't feel safe with having people come and visit for the holidays. So family members on the other end are saying, let's just stay in place this year and see you next year. So that's something that took you out of your normal routine. So you weren't able to do the things you normally do over Christmas. You're not going to be able to do what you normally do for New Year's. But it's okay. This will end and we'll go back to our normal lives and you'll be able to do the things that you normally do. But right now you need to eliminate the holiday blues. And you can restart your engine by doing things that you might not normally do. See, what you've been doing right now is sitting still and focusing on the fact that you can't do what you normally do. That's what you've been doing. If you're focusing on that, that is going to vex your spirit. It's going to cause your spirit to be drained. And then, like a car sitting on your driveway for an extended period of time in the cold, it's going to need a jump start. It's going to need, you're going to have to call AAA and have them come out and jump your battery. Or replace your battery, perhaps if the battery cells are dead. You don't want your battery cells, your human battery cells, to die. You want them to be charged. You want them to be rejuvenated. In order for you to do that, I'm going to encourage you to really start doing some things you don't normally do, like working out, like cooking, like, as I said, doing some floor exercises, lifting some weights, cooking, maybe doing some brain teasers online. I love doing brain teasers online because it challenges my brain to think differently. So, it might be an IQ test, or it might be a brainable test where it's challenging you in some capacity to think about what you're doing and think differently than focusing on the fact that you can't do what you normally would do during the holidays. That's how you're going to eliminate these holiday blues. And so I'm going to encourage you, do something different. You normally go out with friends on New Year's Eve. If you're in the area that you're in, if your church is having New Year's Eve service, and I'm not suggesting, listen, I am not one for being out on New Year's Eve. I call it amateur night in the city. So, we have a candlelight service at our church, and if you're in our area, if any of you are in our area, you can come from 6:30 till 8 p.m. After that, I want everyone off the streets. So I want everyone going home, because you do know that at about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, amateur night's going to start. People are going to start moving around, heading out, connecting with the friends they're going to connect with, because there will be young people out doing that. I'm a baby boomer, so that's not going to be my thing. I'm not going out anywhere. I'm not going out to dinner. I'm having dinner at home. But we will have service in our area, so if you're in our area, you can come and worship with us from 6:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. And by the time I return, dinner will be ready. So I'm thankful for that. So I say that to say, in your case, you don't normally go on New Year's Eve, and hopefully your church isn't having service till midnight, but if that's, look, you normally go out with your friends and you're out after midnight. So why don't you go to church? It's something you can do if your church is having service. If your church is not having service, you can watch it online. Do something you don't normally do. Now, I'm really delighted that you've tuned in, because I happen to know the person who encouraged you to tune in today. And I'm not sure if you tried to tune in the last few days. I mentioned when the broadcast started today, we've been having problems with our YouTube studio and still haven't figured it all out, but we're at least live again. I was on air every day last week except for Christmas Eve. None of the broadcasts went live on YouTube, but you can go back on our Facebook and you can view, or you can view on our app, or you can view on our website. However, we at least are live YouTube today. So we know we will be live on YouTube, hopefully for the rest of this week. And of course, for the services that we have scheduled for New Year's Eve and for the Sunday sermon. Start doing some different things. That's all I want to encourage you to do. Start doing some different things than you normally have been doing. And I want to thank the person who invited you to tune in and encouraged you to tune in. And I know they're watching, and I know that they invited you to watch. So just know that this too shall pass, but you can help to push it by. You can help by doing some things differently than you normally would do. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you over into our queue where you can become a T-Mobile customer and experience T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill. And if you auto pay, you will receive a discount by attaching your credit card to your account at T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you are constantly making mistakes in the men with whom you choose to have a relationship. And you want to know, how can you make better choices? So I'm going to begin by saying this. I was prayerful about this, and God allowed me to see the men that you've dated over the last 10 years of your life. Now, I don't know you personally, but I have seen the men that you've dated, every one of the men that you have dated over the last 10 years of your life. And the truth be told, you are correct. You've made choices that were not conducive to building a better quality of life. The problem is you do not need to make the choice. And I've said this to people before, and I'm going to say this, I'm sure, again. The Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. So anything that we do outside of that, we can expect some struggle. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. So that implies that you shouldn't choose who you want to have a relationship with. You should allow God to choose who he has appointed for your life. You should choose the will of God. And the will of God is that you allow someone to find and choose you. Now, you have a part to play in this. And the part to play in this is that you need to prepare yourself to become a wife, not to become someone they date, not to become even a significant other, but to become a wife. And prepare yourself, and then open yourself, open your heart to allow someone to choose you, someone who has been completely prepared to choose you. Now, I've talked about dating previously on the broadcast. I talked about how we have been dating the wrong way for a very long time. I've talked about how we need to make a change in our method of dating. And so we have to recognize that we are dating the wrong way, and we've been dating the wrong way for a very long time. So one of the things I said long ago, and I'm going to reiterate this as we close out the year, and I'm sure I'm going to have to reiterate this as we go into the new year. If someone chooses to date you, that's the first step. You got to allow them to choose you. If someone chooses to date you, you should ask them if they will take you to church and then take you to lunch. That's it. That's the first step. If they ask you to go out on a date, your response should be, will you take me to church and to your church and take me to lunch? You want to go to church with him so that you can see what he's being taught. You will find out in that request if he even has a relationship with the Lord or a church that he attends. If he says to you, I don't go to church, but I believe in God, then you know that his relationship is somewhat limited. So then you should invite him to come to your church and go out to lunch. That's it. And you should do that 3 times. Either go to church with him and out to lunch, or have him come to your church and then go out to lunch. And after you've done that 3 times, you will have clarity about, is this a relationship that you are willing to pursue? And if it's not, cut it off right then. Don't continue going out with them. See, we date for sport, we date for entertainment, we are dating for all the wrong reasons. 3 dates will tell you everything you need to know. Is this someone I'm going to continue a relationship with. Now, after that, it should be you continue attending church together, but then you can go to dinner if you want to go to dinner. You can go, and participate in activities if you want to participate in activities. You can go to, the movies together, wherever you want to go. Don't stop going to church. And the reason is because that's where you're going to get the order that you both need to build a great quality of life. If someone doesn't want to do all of those, if someone does not want to do those things, you don't need to fit a square peg into a round hole. You don't need to try to build a relationship with someone, first of all, who has no relationship with the Lord. Second of all, has no desire to have a relationship with the Lord, because they can never help you build a quality of life. Unless the Lord builds the house, he that labors, labors in vain. Unless the Lord builds your relationship is in vain. It's never going to have the success that you would desire to build a better quality of life with no relationship with the Lord. And if your relationship is limited with the Lord, you're going to have limited success. You have to focus. The relationship has to be based on the foundation of Jesus Christ. It has to be built on the foundation of a relationship with Jesus Christ. Because without a relationship with him, you cannot have life and have it more abundantly. Stop choosing. If you're going to stop the madness, you have to stop choosing who you're going to have a relationship and allow God to choose who you're going to have a relationship with. We've been doing everything out of order, and then we expect to have a good life. We can't live a good life, a great life, the best life, if we don't line our lives up with the Word of God and the will of God. Let me do that one more time. The way of God, the will of God, and the Word of God. It's those three things that are going to allow us to build a great quality of life. And I'm committed to reminding everyone that we need to get back to the basics of those three things. Doing things the way of God, doing things by the will of God, and doing things by the Word of God. Living our lives in those three ways. And if we do that, we're going to find that God is going to give us exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or think, according to the power of God that works in our lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. If you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in New York, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. If you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything that you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in New York, you can order from the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. I'm going to say to all of our listeners and viewers, I'm excited about what's to come in the new year. Stay tuned in. Be with us right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, as we expand the broadcast and we begin to interview again, after transitioning from the radio station into the new studio. Let's be prepared to be together in the coming years so that we can experience the fullness of God in all of our lives. Be prepared right here in 3D,